Oh, looks like we're live. Hi, guys. It's Ona. Giblets is going to chime in for a little bit. Dr. Vicky, and it is time for Mystic Sisters Moonshine mashup. So,
or the Mystic Moonshine the Mystic Moonshine magic. I don't know.
The magic. You know what? Grab a handful of M&Ms right now. It is the last full moon of the year. So it's just such an honor to get to celebrate this with you. Dr. Vicky, I'm telling you, it's been a heck of a week. And
yes.
I can't even. And so I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed by the taste of lavender that I had to attach it to this last moon. And I hope it's that because I need to calm the freak down.
Left down, yes.
How is everybody?
Welcome everybody. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, see, I told you Jibs would be a big hit. First thing, Jibs.
He was screaming.
You were trying to put a boot on his foot, though, right?
That, you know what? I'm going to do a video because I'm doing a trial and error thing. I really want him to go outside, but the cutoff, it was so cold on Thursday that I took a lift to work. I took a lift home. Same on Friday. The temperature was 5 degrees, but the wind chill factor was minus 17.
Ugh.
It's going to be 50 on Monday, right? It's
yes.
It just completely dropped off, and it was really, really bad. And there's no way I could take him out. And if I saw a dog outside, I would immediately confront the owner if it was that bad. It was really, really cold.
Yeah. Unless you have a husky, it's a little tough. On the food.
Yeah. So, and even with the salt treatments on the sidewalk, he's got to learn to, even when it's warm enough, he's got to put something on his feet. He just won't get over it. It's just the drama. He was screaming, holding up his paw, twisting himself like femme fatale.
Oh my God. You got to get it on video. Nobody believes that. Everybody looks at him and says, what a dignified gentleman. He would never act like that unless they own a Frenchie themselves. Then they know.
I'm going to do it. And I'm going to show you. But I just want to kind of figure out a way to get it on as quick as possible because I can imagine how uncomfortable it is. And he hates it. He just hates it. Right?
So as I usually do at the beginning of Mystic Sisters, I picked a Mystic Sister Oracle card. Tonight we got Ceres. Oops, there we go.
Nice. Oh.
Wow, that's Ceres.
Where is she?
And it says maturing.
Where's Ceres in the sky tonight?
Ceres, I think, is in Aquarius. Close to Pluto, probably.
Okay.
Ceres is the Roman goddess of agriculture and grain. She represents the transition from nomadic hunter-gatherer societies to one of sowing and reaping and tending one piece of land. The shift made it necessary for new laws to divide the land and protect property ownership. Ceres is therefore the goddess of transitions and order. Oh, we could use some order, I would say. Protecting women during key transitional periods of their lives between girlhood to womanhood, from motherhood to old age. Drawing this card signifies a new state of maturity in whatever stage of the life cycle you are presently in. A strong motherly guide is within you. Your labor will yield results. Your newfound endurance will encourage younger women to grow. So, and we certainly know that the younger women can certainly use some help because they're up against stuff that not even we were up against. And we're pretty old.
Yes, but we've got your back.
We do.
We've got your back.
You can
you
always
know.
come to the mothers and the crones.
Yes, yes. Even if everybody else, like who's making the laws and telling you it's not right, you still go to the house to get the right potion. You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
We're still backing you. We're still backing you up. We're still here, and we're still fighting for,
Yes.
everybody's rights. We see it,
Right.
right?
Right. With the
So this,
sun in Sag right now. Right. The sun in Sag.
ruled
And
by
this moon.
Jupiter. Yeah. Yeah. The sun in Sag is ruled by Jupiter. And if you look at the moon,
It's
you
right
get that.
next to it. Yeah. Yes. And Jupiter is sitting, if you look at the constellations, it's sitting right in the middle of the horns of the bull. Jupiter is, and I know that that's significant. I don't know enough about visual astrology to really know what it is, but I know
Yeah.
it's big. And then when I put my little star stellium thing up, whatever
Yes.
it's called, you
Right.
can they tell you where Uranus is, and
Yeah.
Uranus is right next to the Pleiades. So, and because Uranus is in Taurus and the Pleiades are in Taurus at the end of Taurus.
Yes.
So, and then of course there's Algol up there as well, right? The head of Medusa is up there at that where Uranus would be. So it's a very if you have an opportunity and it's clear enough, it's a very, very powerful sky, just being
Yeah.
under the stars. And although I don't live near the city, there's a lot of light pollution on the East Coast, and so
Yeah.
you don't see the stars like I would if I was up in Vermont or Maine or New Hampshire. But it's still pretty. Still pretty neat.
Somebody said,
Yes, this is actually a shrug, and my good friend Ona gave it to me, and it keeps me
yeah,
very warm because it's a Chicago shrug.
it's tough. It's badass. Sleuth Jill said, "Oh my God, I've just looked up to the moon and there's a light reflecting on another solar object planet. What, okay, ladies, can you tell me which it is? It's Jupiter. That's what we were just talking about. It. If it's to the like 7 or 8 o'clock position if the moon were the center of the clock, that's Jupiter. The other direction is Uranus, but then there's also, I think, Aldebaran. I'm so glad you're using that star map. Isn't it cool?
Right. It's really cool.
It's really cool. There's an app that you can use that has a compass in it. So it gets your location and it's a compass and you get the whole sky and underneath you see everything.
Kind of point up at the star and it'll tell you what you're looking at. Yeah. It's a great way to learn the stars.
It really is. It really is. I had used Stellarium for some reason. I had an issue with the app. And then after an upgrade, and now I moved to Star Walk 2. And the camera, I could use the camera, my own camera, onto the sky. And I've got a couple of pictures of that, and I'll probably post them tomorrow when you see that the altar behind me is all lit up and ready, but it's very full moony around here.
Yeah, I have my sun and moon. Sorry about the don't look at the mess. There's my Gemini and Sag paintings there. So I'm all ready. I'm all ready.
So
do you want
fire
to
and air? Fire and air.
Well, yeah. There's a Merkaba in the sky. There's a 6-pointed star in the sky.
We're gonna get the chart up, and so you can see what we're talking about in terms of how. Oh, can you see? Or make it bigger? I don't know. Maybe you could see more than I could see.
I'll you know what? I think I have to go to the page that it's on. So let me do that. And I'll point out a couple of things and then we can pull it down because we're still learning how to use StreamYard here. So I'm sure there's another way.
I'm going to put it backstage, and when you find it, I'll ask it to come on stage there. So the Gemini moon ruled by Mercury, who's retrograde, who's going direct tomorrow. And it has been a feeling of it all will make sense later on to me, that we don't have this whole picture yet. So I'm not trying to get excited about the whole picture, because in honor of learning astrology from you, I know not to flip out before I realize that the energies are affecting us.
Right.
Some collectively and some personally. And, personally, I think you could throw in, fixed stars and asteroids and stuff like that. But collectively, there is a weirdness.
So if you want to pull it up, I found the thing, so I can use my little.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, just let me know when it's up, because I can't tell.
I have the same chart up.
Okay, here you see my cursor moving.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Cool. So December 15th, which this is tomorrow, right? It's a 35/8 day. That's the 9 of Wands. So we want to be vigilant. There's a vigilance to this. This is actually the Sagittarius energy, as it were, the second decan of Sagittarius. Let's see, nothing is in the second decan. The sun is in the third decan of Sag. So, but it doesn't really matter. It's still Sagittarius energy. Here's the sun opposite the moon, and it's making a T-square to Neptune. Now it's kind of a wide square, but it's still there. And Neptune always obfuscates. There's always this sort of misty sort of energy with Neptune, and although we have illumination, there's also obfuscation, or perhaps we will see the illumination around the obfuscation. I'm not sure if that's how this is going to work. I think we have to wait and see how this works. But we do have the moon with Jupiter very close by. This is what you're seeing in the sky tonight. And we have Mercury, and Mercury actually stations today. So we have the full moon, and then we have a Mercury station. I believe the full moon comes first. The full moon is going to be at, I think, 4:02 on my coast and 3:02 in Central Time, AM.
Yeah.
And so the Sabian symbols, I just want to read this. The full moon, 24 of Gemini, children skating on ice. It says, refusing to be defeated. The creative mind is not frozen into uselessness by situations that appear impossibly restrictive to others. In fact, the awakened individual seeks challenges in order that they can rise to the occasion and develop further skills and maturity. I really like that symbol because I feel like there's a lot of people panicking, and if you turn that like, panic is like fear, right? It's like irrational fear, and there's plenty of irrational fear, and there's plenty of people sort of pumping up the irrational fear. And so if we look at this as just an opportunity to get better and to create better what we want to create, I think that's a valuable thing. Now that's where the that's the moon is in Gemini. The sun, which is the other part, right, is at the same degree but in the opposite sign of Sag. And it says, a bluebird perched on top of the gate of a cottage, peace and happiness. The formula for life, though complex, is reliable. When we get it right, we experience a serene easiness of being. So if you're feeling a serene easiness of being, then you know you're getting it right. That's cool, right? Finding inner peace and radiating beauty. There are rewards to those who manage both to blend into the community and yet still maintain their own style of being. These rewards tend not to be measured by things or money, but by nuances of beauty and contentment, that which makes us sing spontaneously as we are puttering around at home. So this is really speaks to us of being happy, just refusing the fear and living your life,
Mhm.
counting your blessings, being happy. I love these symbols for
Yeah.
this full moon. I really do.
Yeah. I have to say, there's the narrative is saying, there are lots of fear out there. There's fear mongering, and yeah, that is exactly how people control you. You can be controlled so very easily when you're afraid, and that's what's happened. And I think even more so in these retrograde, like swimming in and out and shadows, and Mars is involved too, because why not, right? It just went retrograde. It's definitely a time that you can be susceptible to this kind of thing and really like jump in the deep end,
Right.
especially around the
And if I
holiday.
could, yeah, well, of course, the holiday on itself will usually drive you crazy. I just want to point out the Sabian symbol for Mercury stationing direct. Can you see this with the little heart here?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, good. So it's 7 of Sag, Cupid knocking at the door, the stirring up of emotion. There is always something going on to keep us from giving up and losing our appetite to stay involved in life's ups and downs. Being receptive to the stirring of emotions. I just think that's just fantastic, honestly. These symbols are just great.
Yeah.
And I think there's oh, I thought there was a grand a Merkaba, but it's not happening yet. But there is a grand fire trine here, right?
Yeah.
That's and it's interesting because we have the south node as part of it. We have Mercury as part of it, and we have Mars as part of it. And all of those things are moving backwards, except now Mercury is going to go forward.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
Mercury's in Sag, and Sag is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is retrograde in Gemini. And so that's a mutual reception of sort of a standstill kind of feeling that's going on. And it is, we're like waiting with bated breath, like where's the next drone, where
well,
where's the next
this is
story?
all of this is speaking of illumination. This is speaking of illumination. So I think we have to really pay attention to what we're seeing. We may not
Yeah.
actually understand what we're seeing, but I think paying attention to the cues, writing things down, because if you don't write it down, you're not going to remember. There's just so much coming at you at all times, right? So I think that's a
That's true.
consideration. All right, I'm going to stop the share. Is
Yesterday
that
was
okay? I
Yeah.
can stop it
And
from my
yesterday
side, I
was
think.
Friday the 13th. When you
I
said
didn't
of
miss
like
anything.
information coming and
Yeah.
coming, that is the Eight of Wands, which is today. Like, it's that kind of feeling where this full moon energy, maybe the lavender being so in the front of everything, is just about chilling, just calm down.
Well, that's what lavender is, right? You get
Yes.
some lavender flowers, you put it in and take a warm bath, or you do some essential oil.
Yeah.
It's very calming. In fact, I drink there's an herbal tea. It's
Yeah.
lavender mint, I think. It's really quite delicious. And it calms you right
Yeah.
down. And then I stick
Yeah.
if I can wrestle it away from the cat, I put a little catnip in it as well, because that's
Yeah.
also a nervine. It calms
That's
us
what's
down
so
and it
nice
makes
about it. It could be applied anywhere. Really, you can diffuse it, you can smoke it, you can put it on your skin, you could drink it. So it's got to be the overarching, just chill out, because I feel like the same way. Like I'm just waiting for the next. I want to sit down and try and get in this drone energy kind of thing that's going on. Is this just a side story? I mean, there's so many things I want to do. And this is an 8 of Wands, and I feel like just hang in there until the full moon. And then maybe it'll make more sense. Or Mercury's adjustment.
Yeah, and this full moon is right on Trump's nose, right on his. The sun is on his moon. The moon is on his sun, and his north node and his Uranus. So we can expect something to get exposed around him. I believe it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be about him, or something about him with that.
Yeah.
And this full moon is also on Kamala Harris's nodes and your nodes, my dear. This full
I
moon.
know it's super intense. Can I say that I've been doing a burn in a way that I can with like incense and trying to get the right vibe and trying to like break down that lavender thing is I set the smoke alarm off. I said this movie, and it was like right at 5:35. I'm like, oh shit! But Giblet's not. He had no reaction at all. So he's deaf. He's deaf. But I was able to open the windows and realize, my gosh, I could keep the windows open. It's almost 40 degrees outside today.
Which is balmy considering what it's been like. It's freezing here today. So cold, so cold.
Shorts. This is today is the day of Tea Box, which is the 12 bars of Christmas in the neighborhood. So I'm sure all the elves are really happy that it's not 5 degrees, it's 38, and I'm sure some of them have their shorts on right now instead of winter clothes. And boy, we dressed up heavy in the last couple of days. It was really intense.
Yeah, here too. I don't know, because I used to live in the city and by New York City, and there were days where you would just you couldn't walk down certain streets because it was so windy, and then freezing. Like it's like just not a whole lot of fun. And I think I'm just getting older because if the cold didn't used to bother me the way it bothers me now. So.
Yeah. There are certain things too that I can't tolerate anymore. And I have to go in one direction if I take public transportation and walk about 3 blocks, and it is in between buildings. And I don't know if the underground tunnel has been closed down, or I worked there 30 years ago and there was a way that you can get to where I need to go underneath the street.
Right.
So that building isn't even there anymore. So I think that's all closed down. There's a lot of underground stuff going on in the city. So I honestly, I'm like, I'm not even going to take a chance with that. And the whole clinic was freezing on Thursday. The building is a little bit older, and it was just windy all day long, and it was like, oh my god, I'm freezing. And then Friday I was boiling like a sausage in there.
We had like 60-mile-an-hour gusts here with the wind the other day. It was really wild.
I like that. It was like that today, and now it's raining, but it was a really violent day on the water. That's why I was hoping maybe we can get like the moon would show herself, because the clouds move fast enough, but I think they're just moving in.
Well, it's clear here because it's freezing, and the moon was coming up before as the sun was going down, and it was so enormous against the horizon. It scared me. It actually, I'm like, oh, the moon does that sometimes to me. I'll be like, I'll get shocked by it.
Doesn't it? I love that.
Yeah, me too.
I love that. It gets your attention. Absolutely. And it has been. I've been getting some really good pictures. The thumbnail was one of them, and the clouds were going in and out. It was really cool. And I have more from the app that is really neat. Yeah. Somebody said I hate humid weather. I like it cold. It's not that cool when it's that cold. It's actually a public health hazard.
I remember hearing that Chicago would get so cold that people's tires would explode.
They deflate. Actually, what happened, the air shrinks down, so you have to sort of hyperinflate them, and that can happen. And with Arizona in the summer, I'm sure all those tires explode. We
Or
have
melt.
we have the shrink effect, so everything like sort of shrinks in the wood and the house, right? The kitchen floor and everything sort of like is on a shrink schedule. The streets have more potholes, like the whole thing goes south.
Yeah.
Really.
So we have the full moon, and then next week is the solstice.
Yes.
So this is a really powerful week. We're starting with a full moon, Mercury going direct, and we end it with the sun moving into Capricorn.
Yes.
And that's always powerful. And of course, Mars is still retrograde. And then eventually it's going to be making an opposition again to Pluto. The energy is very, very, very intense. Very intense.
So the sun moving into Capricorn is ruled by Saturn.
Yes.
It's retrograde in Pisces. It's still that sort of like,
I think it's direct now, isn't it? Let me look. Let me just give me a second. I'll look. I think it might be direct. Didn't it go direct already?
I don't know. I hope so. Yes.
I hope so. Yes, it's direct.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes. It is direct. It is direct.
It's
so
direct.
That's good.
And it's also it's in a first quarter square to Saturn. That's the first quarter crisis in action square of the cycle of Saturn and Jupiter, and that's what they call like a financial or a generational cycle, because it's a 20-year cycle, and it began back in 2020 when those two planets came together on Christmas on winter solstice. So it's been 4 years since it was conjunct on winter solstice in the first degree of Aquarius. So that was sort of the first like little when people really started to talk about the Aquarian age coming in with that. And then Pluto followed up like a little while after that, a couple of years after that, going into Aquarius for the first time in like 200 and something years. So
yes.
So we're in an energy that there isn't much you can do about it. You can sit back and observe what's going on and connect it, but we're kind of along for the ride now, guys. And so make sure that you've checked all your little canoes and make sure there's no holes in the canoe, or if there is, bring a little bucket to bail, and put your little swimmies on, because we're going down the river of change, and we're going down. We're not down like down to the bottom, but down like river rafting. We're river rafting on the river of change.
Mary said Thursday, December 12th was the feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Also a very powerful day. Yes, this time is. And yes, there's a big pilgrimage front in the city that goes to like Des Plaines. I don't know if it was a sighting, a statue, or a church. And they made it there.
Yes.
They made it there. It was probably not as big, but there are people that just believe so hard that it didn't matter if it was 17 below zero. They did it, and they're better for it. So it is that time of the year where those energies are available and powerful, or the stuff that makes us like sad and depressed and angry and afraid.
Well, this is the holiday time, and everybody's holidays, you have a picture in your head what your holiday should be like. Not everybody has that experience, and it can be some of the worst times for people at the holiday season. So don't forget that for your friends and your family who may
Yeah.
and not have the best memories of Christmas or yourself. But I was listening to, and I can't remember his name because I often read his, I get like his, he has a really good website. There's Kabbalah stuff on it. And he was saying that the longest day, the longest night, which is the solstice, right? Is when the dark is at its strongest, and the dark is the feminine. And on the solstice is when we have the birth of the sun, because the sun starts to rise up, right? And so it's symbolic of Mary, the Mother Mary, or any of the goddesses that give birth, right? And then the son that is born is the Redeemer, and that's Buddha, Osiris, Mithra, Christ. You can name Luke. You can name any of the sun gods. That's when the light starts to increase, and on its way to its apex at the summer solstice.
Yeah.
And then it should then the feminine takes over. So there's sort of well, certainly a yin and yang to it all, right?
Yeah.
I watched.
And I feel strongly too with the black and white and Gemini and Castor and Pollux. Like there's definitely, it feels more Libra-ish to me, this Gemini moon, than anything I know where it is in the sky. But it feels like we've got to record data on both ends. We're gonna inevitably end up in this place that's, that fear has led us to, or we're going to be both happy. We're going to pick up on this Jupiter energy and get through this.
Yeah.
Trust me, it's tougher. It's tougher. It can get really, really hard. And every time I work, I get super humbled.
Jill says she doesn't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I find this time of year brings such a heavy energy. Christmas has never been the same since my son passed over. Yeah, it's not. Like I haven't had that experience, which, blessings to you, Jill. That's got to be the hardest thing, I think. But
yeah.
I miss my mom, and I miss my dad and my aunts and uncles that filled my Christmas with laughter and delicious food. And, they would tease me, and I was surrounded by all my cousins. It was a Christmas Eve would be like, we'd have like 45 people eating the feast of the seven fishes. That's a lot. That's a lot of people eating a lot of fish. And it was great. And then after we finished all the fish, Santa would come and give all the kids presents. And we were like 50 cousins. It was just a lot. It was just a lot.
We didn't have a dress up Santa.
Yeah.
In my family, but it was just really it was always in the basement kitchen of the cousin's house. Oh my God. And
we had it in the basement. We had it in the basement apartment.
Right?
Yeah, in the house. Yeah.
And loud, screaming loud.
We had like an open plan back down in the basement, like from the dining room to the living room. It was just one long table full of and my godmother Minnie, she was a Scorpio. When my husband came to the thing, she had a bowl full of galamad, the tentacles. The tentacles.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's the best part.
Yeah, in like sauce. And she puts it in front of him, and she says to my husband, "Do you like testicles?" This was my maiden aunt who never had sex in her life. I'm like, man, Michael, you bring it out in everybody, He's like, I like mine. I like.
It's crazy. I remember my ex-husband going, "Why do you guys scream at each other?" I'm like, we're not screaming at each other. That's just how we talk. It's just how it is.
Conversations we would have across the table, and everybody was talking at the same time, but you were listening to the person you were having the conversation with. You didn't
Yeah.
hear anybody else. Yeah. It's
Just
like
wait till the espresso comes and the Galliano. Then at the end of the story is.
I was saying to Michael, we would eat our food. We would eat the food, and then the next thing would be fruit and nuts. We'd have fruit and nuts, and then the dessert would come with coffee and dessert. Yeah, that was the thing. Yeah.
Yep. So yes, those are memories, and they're fun to revisit. But I think I'm happy where I am now, and I feel like I definitely contribute in a Christmas kind of way all the time. It's not just one day for me, Definitely want to say, yeah, I understand the feeling. And I think if I don't celebrate it, then I'm not, I won't be sad.
LLC says, oh my God, my mother-in-law is Italian from Jersey and so loud.
Yeah, they're not really.
Yeah. It's a thing.
Not really. I don't know why they scream at each other like that, but they do. They do. Well, and my husband was Jewish, so honestly, there was really no difference when I went to his family's house, except that they were yelling at each other because they hated each other. Not because they're having a conversation, but there was always a fight.
Jeez, amazing. Right?
So much drama. I mean, drama on drama on drama. It's unbelievable. So if you're used to that and you like it, awesome. If it's a memory, you get a good laugh, definitely get a good giggle in your head. If it's something you're going to engage yourself in, just remember the conversation and say, oh yeah, this is how they are. It's just how we are.
Lee says she'll be she'll be out of my tree if Biden announces that the election is overturned. I'm not sure that's what's going to happen. I think they might have something on him, though. I really do. Hey, Paula. Paula's here. Woo-hoo. Oh, I am grieving the loss of the right side of my chest to breast cancer, grieving the election that are selling my building, and I'm looking for a new home. Feel like I'm drowning in grief. Yeah.
Yeah. And everything's retrograde. So you feel like it is one step forward, two steps back, one step forward, but it's going to change. And I really feel powerful with this Pluto, with this new generation beta, that we're going to have. It's going to be really interesting. I think you're going to have a really, really interesting generation unfold.
What's to say? Like it's hard to say, Mary. You know that our love is with you, and if you're grieving, then you have to allow yourself to grieve. There is another side to all grief, really, but sometimes it takes longer than others. I think it's a real test of our faith right now. A real test of our faith that what we do matters, and
So Mary, when I worked at Northwestern 30 some years ago, maybe 20 something years ago, I was a case manager in the breast cancer service in radiation oncology. And when people felt like that, I had to remind them that nobody can tell. Nobody can tell. This isn't like a disfigurement or anything, that you can hold your head up high. And it is because of it that it's going to give you even more confidence. I'm like, trust me.
The other thing about losing a breast like that, especially the right breast, is the
Oh,
Amazons in the ancient times would actually take off their right breast because it would get in the way of the arrow,
yeah,
being an archer. So I've always felt like a lot of women who do lose a breast like that
yeah,
are sort of reliving that Amazon lifestyle, and they were ferocious warriors.
yeah.
So connect with your Amazon energy, darling, and
It really is. It's very warrior-like. And I have that book, The History of the Breast, and it was written by a breast cancer surgeon. And she actually mentioned that because you did try and put together an archetype. What is it about these women from all these different socioeconomic backgrounds, all these different exposures have in common? Breast cancer. Why?
Mhm.
Why? Right. So I did my research, and it was a place that allowed you to do that too, on their dime, which was cool. And it was that the warriors had to have mastectomies so that they could be even better at what they did.
Yeah.
So they were warriors, literally, right?
Yeah.
And that's very, very powerful. It's a very powerful place that you're in, believe it or not. Someday
Right.
you'll be like,
I have a friend who lost her breast. She was pretty young. She was, I want to say she was in her early 40s. And she actually was, she had a really nice figure, small waist, voluptuous. And she decided not to have any surgery after that. So she really like took on the Amazon Capricorn. Of
mhm,
course. Who else would want to keep the bow arm?
yeah. And I have to say also that I was doing this at a time when elective mastectomies were not common, they weren't done, and they certainly weren't covered by insurance. BRCA gene had not been isolated yet, where they can really tell how
Right.
genetic it is. And now I think it's so much more accepted because people are electing to do that. I know people that do that because they want to play softball. Okay.
Right. Right.
No, seriously, like the softball team across the street in the summer, the lesbian softball team, they love giblets and they do that so they could play softball. The reduction surgery
Yeah.
was finally approved by insurance because it caused so much back pain and back problems. So it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. They do. They assume you want it, but it's your body, right? It's your body. You get to decide. And I've also seen some beautiful tattoos along the
Yeah.
scar lines. Like this one woman, like her whole like chest wall was like flowers. It was beautiful,
Mhm.
So and it's a warrior's. You're a warrior. We're all warriors. We don't if you stay beautiful and all put together and everything's pointing up, you know what I'm saying? None of
Yeah.
it's real. None of that's real. Gravity will not allow those things to point up past maybe 25, right? And then everything starts to point downwards. So, we have to glorify in our bodies, no matter uh, how different they might look from, from the beginning to where we are now.
Yeah. And there is some karmic news in there that I never quite figured out. I never quite figured out what it was, but definitely reading that book and I know the doctor's first name was Susan. I can't remember
Susan
her
Love.
last name.
Wasn't it Love?
It
Susan Love?
wasn't. Oh, I think it is Susan Love.
Yeah, the breast. I think it was the breast book or something.
Yes. Yes. And she did a history of the breast. Yeah. Yeah. And it put it into perspective because I always did that after a while. You sort of like try and figure out why. I was working at Loyola and we had all these really young kids that had leukemia from Dixon, Illinois.
Yeah, well,
Like,
that's what were they making in Dixon that would
there's a nuclear power plant there. I did not know that. I was naive to that until I said it out loud. Like, there's so many, like, after working there a year and a half, thinking this is weird. And then I learned there's actually a nuclear plant in that area that probably precipitated a lot of that.
Yeah. I grew up in New Jersey, and there were parts of New Jersey they call Cancer Alley because it's so toxic.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons, well, I wouldn't say that's the reason I left New Jersey, but when I came up to Massachusetts, I smelled the air and I'm like, what's this?
Yeah.
Oh, it's air. Okay. So
Yeah.
the air up here is much better than it was where I grew up. It was just too industrial, right in the heart of the, like, next to New York City, Newark. I grew up in
Yeah.
Jersey City, so now it's kind of a shishy place to live. But when I lived there, it wasn't.
I was going to ask because the areas that are heavy industry, like the Gary, Indiana, just south, south east of me, is not an area that is shishi fufu. It's pretty low income.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's an industrial. It smells nasty.
Well,
And
that's
when the wind
part
blows
of
that way, I can smell Indiana.
that's part of what the Green New Deal wanted to do, because a lot of the most toxic places are where the lowest income people live, and they
Yes.
purposely put those things in those places. But
Yes.
you know,
The housing is affordable there because the air and the soil and the water is toxic.
that's right. That's right. I know Indiana. I think Indiana has a big problem with that as well. But all that, even probably a lot of the Rust Belt, because I mean, in Massachusetts, it was bad because it was one of the first, like, manufacturing hubs, because it's an old, and but they've done, over the years they've cleaned up quite a bit, but it's still, you have to be careful.
Yeah.
You have to be careful.
Because the waterways were dumped with waste and sewage and industrial products because that's what they did. They just dumped crap in the water.
So Sharon Ann had relatives that came to the U.S. and lived in Boston. Then they went to Chicago and eventually to California for the weather. So Owner and we're going to come visit. We're going to go to California next.
Yeah, I have relatives in California too. That is the only, like, the determining factor was the weather. Although I don't feel like we've had,
No,
where I told you, I'm going to jinx myself right now, is the winters have not been so horrible in spite of the 2 days where it was about 5 or 0 to 5 degrees when I left for work in the morning. It's typically not been awful winters like it was that I remember as a kid. How much snow and how cold it was. It doesn't feel like that anymore.
No, it doesn't get, no. Here it hasn't really been cold the way it used to be.
Right.
Since Trump came down the escalator and Beelzebub arrived. I mean, it's gotten hot ever since then, as far as I can tell.
And I've also transitioned the body habitus here has also changed where I run hot more than I used to. And the heat affects me more than the cold affects me.
Right.
At this time. So, and I'll be 60 in January.
Ooh.
I know. I was telling my kid, I'm like, I think I'm going to get together like a Walgreens crawl. Like, instead of a pub crawl, we'll do like pharmacy crawl. And we can get slippers there. And we can so that's more my speed. He's like, yeah, that's your speed. That would be like totally cool. Like, do you need like wipes or makeup remover or wrinkle filler, and then come over and share it, kind of thing. It's going to be cold on my birthday.
So south of Pittsburgh, and I can report that winters are warmer. Yes. Yep.
Right? Yeah. It's different. It's not like, and just like we say in the summertime, it's like the sun is different. We used to be able to be under direct heat sun for longer and not have the effects like we do now. And now it's like, man, you burn
it feels when I'm out in the sun now, it feels like a chemical burn. It actually burns my skin. It actually burns the skin. I mean,
yeah.
That's not hard to do because I'm like one of the whitest white girls I know. But,
Yeah.
I've always had very sensitive skin and on so thin and sensitive, I guess.
I have, honestly, this Band-Aid is covering another basal cell, this non-healing wound that I've had, and I've had this before in a couple other spots. So I know I've got a basal cell. We're going to go on a healthcare thing. I'm going to go off. Right?
Yeah.
I know I've got a basal. And when I said on the note, I've got a basal cell that bothers me. I wear long sleeves. I know what it is. I've had it before. Seems like it's more aggressive. So I went there and they said, oh, well, you need to go see derm. You didn't have to come here. We could have just gave you a referral. I said, did you read my notes? Did you read my note? She didn't read the note. Oh, she didn't see the note. But now she told me now they have AI technology where she could talk to me more and type less. I said, oh, okay. Let me see it. And she barely looked at it and said, oh, no, you have to go to derm. I about lost myself right there. I was like, you know what? If I didn't have to be here, I have a cheese grater at home, okay? I don't have to be here right now. But this is how the family practice, the interns farms you out to your different disciplines. And that's all they do is kind of move in one direction. So now I have to go out again and do this again. And I talk them into just one visit because I'm not coming back for serial office visits. And I can't even get them on the phone until Monday.
Isn't there some sort of medicine that they put on those now?
There is an acidic form of something. I honestly would just be really cool if they would just numb it and slice it out.
Yes.
I've had all three of those things done, and the best result was you get one shot.
Yeah.
That's it. So, yeah, I think it's also a time where there's like little health things that come up, and the sun giving me its, slap that I haven't been as compliant with sunscreen when I was working at the garden center or in the summer as I should be. And I have a basal cell on my arm. So there you go. It's like the sun is definitely different than it used to be. Or maybe it was all that previous exposure that made me even more susceptible to an aggressive sun, right? Yes, LLC says, I really want a one-stop medical center that also has a hair salon, nails, dentist, and massage, and I get it all done at once. So do I. I have sat and I work in this like industry and said, I really would just like to have a vet, my own veterinarian, where they do the teeth, they do the guts, they do the bones, they do the skin. Like it's one person that knows you. I would rather have a vet than 16 doctors.
Yeah.
For, every little thing. I'm so tired of that.
So, do you want to pull some cards on this full moon?
Yeah. What do you want to ask the moon as it's hiding in the?
What will you reveal to us, full moon?
Okay.
right? That's a good one. Now I have to. Oh yeah, here we go. I'll post some cards too. What is the full moon to reveal to us?
The message of the moon.
Message from the moon. Message from the mystical moon.
So we got agates or any stone that's banded or veined.
I like blue lace agate because it's good for the throat.
Yeah. Yeah. That color is something that you can relate to with the throat chakra, a lighter blue or any blue, really, honestly.
Yeah. And I think any crystal that helps with calming the nerves.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. And maybe that's why I think of like the banded or striated or veined rocks, because you have to scry them and it forces you to focus. And that's what we need, is a little focus, I think the moon is saying right now.
I think the focus needs to be inward. I think we need to listen to the messages coming through our own sort of connection to spirit.
This is a connection to spirit time, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anytime Mercury's retrograde, right? Having to look within for the answers. Alrighty, let's see what they say.
The first one that fell out was the Fool or Youth from this deck, and she's just adorable. And maybe there is some kind of playful idea, which I really, really like. Need. The message of the moon.
Ooh.
Oh.
What's that, darling?
Okay. I have like a sentence, or like I have like a direct. Oh my God. In the bottom of the deck is the freaking moon. You could see her little bottom a little bit, but this isn't like the kind of nudie. So
you don't have to cover her up.
Is the moon saying to like sort of remain playful? This is the Youth or the Fool card. Okay. And the next one is the Curiosity of Air. The moon is in Gemini right now. That tomorrow, the 9 of Fire, which is the numerological sequence for tomorrow.
That's right.
There will be an illumination, the sun of balance. And I do feel like so much that is the message of the moon, is that we'll figure it out tomorrow.
Tomorrow, I love you tomorrow. You're always a day away. So I got, you still going? Go ahead.
This is the moon card. She's so cute. I love it. I love it. I love this deck.
So I'm starting with the 7 of Pentacles. This is harvest, but not quite ready, right? So this says to me that you need to tend to your garden. And the challenge is the chaos that's around us, the 5 of Wands. Underneath it, the moon, of course. In the past, we have the Emperor. I think this could be the election that's got us all riled up. In the sky, we have all the greedy MFers there, the 4 of
abusive
Pentacles, right? Yep. But in the immediate future, I get a message, good news, maybe a message of love. How it's seen from outside, we get the Queen of Pentacles. I like that. The domestic situation is the Queen of Cups. So we have both. We have 2 queens here, which indicates to me, you know, the when you do this Celtic cross, the ones that come up are. This is like the cross itself is the situation, right. And the come up to me, the cards pulling up is like the trends, and I see the trends for feminine, hopes and fears to move out of troubled waters. I'd say that's a hope. And then I get the Hierophant as the outcome, which is usually the Constitution. So, the Constitution, the way things are put together. It's also traditional wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also your, sort of, uh, like ancient wisdom. It's not just like, because sometimes the Hierophant is associated with religion, but
Yeah.
it's really more, it's deeper than that. It's like connecting to your ancient roots. And I believe this is Shiva, right?
Yep.
Shiva, right? And Shiva is the destroyer,
Yep.
right? The destroyer energy.
This
And
is very close with the sun correlating with that. Would you be able to correlate the Six of Swords with Mercury going direct? If you were looking at a little timeline, that felt so Mercury direct to me. The Six of Swords, because it's like finally you're clearing yourself.
well, I think that, um, I think the Six of Swords is really speaking, like there right now we're in a big shift of power.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of shifting power now, especially with the Assad thing happening in Syria. That sort of changed the whole,
Oh, yeah.
right. And I think Volodymyr Zelensky said he would talk, that he'd be willing to sit down and talk with Russia for peace. And I think, and Russia is, uh, there's a boat or something that's been like floating around, and they can't find it now, and it's full of fertilizer. I don't know. There's a lot of like tension around that, um, because the pieces on the chessboard are moving now.
Yeah.
And so I don't think we really know what we have. So Moon says, listen to that small still voice within.
Yeah.
These are the two major arcana, and the Emperor. The Emperor is about dominion.
Isn't
So
that cool that the moon card came up on the bottom of both decks? Like, moon, we gotta, like, if I can't see you, we gotta talk to you. But I like that it, like, Mercury's going direct. We've got Six of Swords, and then there's Shiva. There was the Sun card and the balance, the illumination after that Nine of Wands, which is tomorrow when Mercury goes direct. I see that there's some correlations that need to be watched. We'll see what happens tomorrow on full moon day. And then the moon moves into Cancer tomorrow also. So the Gemini moon has been active since yesterday. Really.
let me ask you. I should have asked you this offline, but can we do Mystic Sisters next week on Friday night? I know you
Yes.
work Fridays.
I
Can we?
do work Friday, but I will be home by that time.
Okay, good. So
Yeah.
I want to say that Mystic Sisters next week on my channel, but instead of Saturday, it's going to be Friday. I'll make a couple of announcements. I have a drumming circle thing
Nice.
with some friends, and we're going to raise the energy for the full moon. I mean, for the solstice, really, because it's going to be the solstice. It would have been Mystic Sisters Live Solstice Spectacular, which it might still be. We'll just do it a little early. So
Yes. All right, you guys, you have a great, awesome full moon. It'll all make sense probably tomorrow. Everything's going to be okay. And, the same. Honor those feelings, but, recognize the feelings that this is a time when it's kind of just a weird time of year, and that the retrograde planets always go direct at some point. They always do. Right?
Yep.
Love you, love you, love you.
Bye, everyone. Have a great full moon. Take care.
We'll see you in the morning with giblets there for the card of the week.
I can't wait. I really do plan my week around that.
It was a whale of a week too. I think I listened to some whale songs. It was really helpful. Everything is going to be good. Love you, love you, love you.
Take care, everyone. Namaste.